Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. Got a lumber update video for you guys. This is going to be a good one. I have some insider information for you, something that you're not going to find anywhere else. And when I Googled lumber this morning, I just punched in the word lumber and hit the news feed, and I was just amazed by how many articles I was finding that said like lumber crash, biggest drop in history for lumber prices. It was like everything was like downturn in lumber down. And I thought to myself, you know what? That move over the last few weeks has been too much, too fast. We are going to see a reversal. Now, whether that happens, next week, the week after, or whatever, I have no idea when it'll take place, but I'm assuming it'll probably happen sooner than later. Let me give you some of the updates here. So you guys know once a week I get an email kind of telling me what's going on with the different mills in the different regions. Pretty much the same information that we have had over the last few weeks. The mills have been noticing that there is a slowdown in purchases. Prices are dropping. It's pretty consistent across the board with what they were saying. Plywood has been incredibly tight supply. This is one that I have no idea when we are going to see the relief. But we may start seeing some of it already, because listen to this. The Southern Yellow Pine Plywood. The SYP plywood was very quiet this week as everyone digested lower prices. So that's the first time that I've heard anything as far as a price relief coming to plywood. So that's a very good sign. Now, again, across all the regions, pretty much the same. Another week of record-breaking discounts helped mills move off prompt production. So, let's see here, but did little to ease the fear of downside risk. It's pretty much consistent across the board with these mills. That was the Eastern SPF mills suffered through another week of price discovery, fielding counters as deep as 300 per thousand. So people are coming to them saying, hey, how much for this? Oh yeah, well, we'll offer you 300 per thousand off of that. So, that's a huge discount to think about. Like, if somebody was to say, how much is it? And you say $1,200 and say, well, I'll give you $9. That's like a huge discount. That's a huge price difference. All right. Southern Pine, here we go. Buyers continue to use caution as mills and buyers alike search for trading levels. Mills continue to listen to offers as inventories build. And that's what I've been saying. Like, people were like, when is this going to happen? When are we going to see price relief? Well, we're going to see it when we're going to see the price relief when we start seeing the inventories build. And we're hearing about the inventories building now. So here comes the insider information. Earlier today, I had a conversation, and he wants to remain anonymous, which is totally understandable. And I can't say where he is from. All I can say is that he works at a higher level position at a bigger mill. How about that? I'll just leave it at that. It's not like one of the big name mills like you would hear, that you would typically hear of, but it's a mill that's that's known somewhat. Let me just put it at that. I don't want to go too deep into it, but anyway, what he had to say today really was pretty interesting. Now, this is something that I had not thought about, and when he was giving me this information, I asked him, I said, man, would it be possible for you to send me an email with some of that information in it? Because I'm trying to write it down. I'm trying to remember what he is saying. And there was dates and there was numbers involved. And I'm like, man, it's too much too fast. Dude was cool enough to send me an email breaking it all down. And I'm going to read this email straight up to you guys, word for word. And I tell you, after reading this, I have a feeling that the bottom in lumber may not be as low as people are hoping or anticipating it's going to be. Listen to this. It says, hello, Simon. Great talking with you. The stumpage rate for BC interior mills will increase $30 per cubic meter on July 1st, and there could be a similar increase on October 1st. This could increase log costs 30 to 40% before the end of the year for the interior BC mills. There is typically a 3 to 6 month lag time between the stumpage rate calculation and the current log and lumber market conditions. So the upcoming stumpage rates reflect the strong market we have seen over the last 6 months. The challenge for mills later in Q4 is that they will face seasonal adjusted lower prices of lumber at the potential record high log cost. Then the majors have to decide how much do they log their own forest licenses at these very high stumpage rates while there has been a major correction in the price of lumber. So let me read that one again. The majors have decided how much do they log their own forest licenses at these very high stumpage rates while there has been a major correction in the price of lumber. So I think they're trying to figure out how much it is that how much do they log when the log prices are extremely high, but at the same time the lumber prices are really low. I think that's what he's trying to suggest there. Often the majors will then reduce harvesting on their own tenures and buy more logs on the open market system through the BCTS, the British Columbia Timber Sales, which is really an arm of the BC government that is set up to sell 20% of the province's annual allowable cut. This can, in some instances, further bid up the price as the timber goes to auction. It's a mechanism that the government uses to determine fair value of timber harvested from public lands. The major suppliers in BC typically look for transitory conditions when stumpage rates are low and lumber prices are stable or moving up. This results in the most favorable return to log. To some, it's a complicated system. It is. The actual formula to calculate stumpage each quarter is highly sophisticated regression analysis that brings in many market factors. But the BCTS system is also in place to appease the U.S. Lumber Coalition, as it's supposed to ensure that our stumpage rates reflect the true market values. It does, however, has its lag to it. It will be interesting to see the new forecasted softwood lumber duties at 18% will be instituted November 1st. So we could be looking at a trifecta: lower lumber prices, higher log cost, and potential doubling of the current duty. Certainly another cocktail of uncertainty going forward. I don't see lumber prices returning to the basement floor price levels of the years past. Should market demand conditions remain favorable in the U.S. for low interest rates and shortages of new homes, we should see prices stabilize. There will not be incremental volumes flowing south from the BC as mills are operating at full capacity, and there is zero incentive or appetite to further invest in mills expansion in BC. To much government regulation, excessive log cost, and uncertain in the tenured supply. This is why the largest of Canadian mills have been investing heavily in new build and expansion of southern yellow pine mills in the southeast. There is plenty of relatively southern pine yellow logs, almost no government regulation, and the best return on investment in North American forest industry. Hope this helps. Regards. Wow. Talk about some information. There was a lot in that letter, but ultimately what I'm getting out of this is that the adjustment of log stumpage fees is a lag time from when the price of lumber is actually occurring. So not to be confusing, or if it's not already confusing, they kind of take the idea of what the stumpage would be from the current projection of lumber cost and what's going on right now, apply that stumpage fee, but by the time the stumpage fee actually makes it to where the mills are being affected by it, the price of lumber could drop. So not only are they paying a higher price for logs, but then by that time the cost of lumber has dropped. This almost always sets up a condition in which that the mills will begin to curtail development. Almost always. So I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. All I'm saying is that if this particular event becomes more of the more of what's going to take place in the foreseeable future. Like if it becomes more of the reality, then I would assume at that point we are going to see a floor put in on the lumber prices as mills have an operating cost. Much like mining, like when people talk about how silver can't go below a certain price because it's no longer feasible to mine it, or like metals in general. It doesn't necessarily mean silver, but just metals in general. When the price drops to a particular level, it just no longer is profitable. Well, mills are much in the same way. If the price per lineal foot, if the futures price or the board foot drops to a particular level that they're no longer profitable, then they stop making it. They'll just curtail development, and then we go right back into that same cycle again. So what I'm assuming is probably going to happen is that it's probably going to hit a floor before we get to that level where the mills actually start curtailing development. So just to kind of give you an idea, it would kind of make sense to me, like it would like to kind of give you an idea of what to expect. It would not surprise me over the course of the next couple of weeks to see prices bounce because they have dropped so far so fast. They're like the biggest drop in history for lumber prices. It would not surprise me to see lumber bounce and then find a floor at some point. So when I say bounce, they'll come up, drop maybe down to like 650, and then begin to find the floor, right? And then they start, say hovering around 800 per thousand or something like that. So prices have dropped dramatically. There's going to be some sell pressure relief going on where there's going to be some buying coming in. I'm going to see another drop, right? I think it's still going to drop down a little bit farther. It's probably going to hit something like 650. And then from that point on, who knows where we're going to go from there. All this should take place over the course of the next 3 months. That's like a total prediction. But based on some of the information that this gentleman was giving me earlier today, I don't know, man. This is some really crazy times, but the amount that has dropped inside of the lumber prices, it only leads me to believe that we're going to see some sort of correction to that for a little while. And to kind of give you an idea of what's going on at work, because I work at a lumber yard, the narrative that lumber prices have crashed has definitely hit the retail market, but the reality is not there. People were calling me up all day today asking how much the price of lumber has dropped. And I'm telling them it has not dropped one single dime. In fact, I would anticipate that you're not going to see any price relief until the end of summer. That's where I'm guessing. So anyway, Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.